All right. So, back to me not following the rules of an S&M. So, what those people were using is an S&M, and I'll tell you how you'll know this. Satan fucks witch. Everybody else can't have sex with their own wife. An S&M on darkweb has rules. A satanic S&M club. Whatever they do in sex ways, none of them are actually allowed to have sex with their own marital wife. That is the structure of a satanic S&M, and that is like the problem. See, the last profile is Satan's. And in a satanic S&M profile system, Satan Satan. Those people who have those are only supposed to have monogamous sex with their wife. A satanic S&M club isn't made for monogamy. The people that have this stuff have profiles, and that essentially they're the only ones that can have monogamous sex in what would be a sex fetish system. So the reason that I don't ever really use it is because I don't have sex fetishes. That would be the only reason to be in a satanic S&M. And that even if I was to enter one, I would be held to Satan that fucks Satan witch. And that would be the only, that would be like the only thing that I would be able to do in one of those. So since they're built for people that want to do sex fetishes, then it would be pointless for me to even be entering or using or being a part of that. See, I wouldn't be allowed, even in the dark web, none of those women would be allowed to have sex with me. None of those women would be allowed to suck off the end of my wieners and shit. And I wouldn't be able to do weird cuckings and weird pedophilias and all that shit. I just wouldn't be allowed. I wouldn't have the dating setups. I wouldn't have anything. The only thing that I would have is maybe a date setup tape to meet up with my ex-wife. And so since we're divorced, there's no real reason, and that for her to use that stuff, she would have to be outfitted with speakers, and that I wouldn't access that stuff. And essentially, the date tape would force her to have to come to me, and I'm not a sociopath. She divorced me for whatever dumb reasons, and I don't really like it, but I'm not a fucking sociopath. I'm not going to require her to be coming back to me. So if she ended up over the last few years getting that type of stuff, I'm not a sociopath. I'm not going to force her back into my marital bed. I'm not going to do anything to harm her whatsoever. She made her decisions in life. I don't like her dumb thoughts, but I respect her regardless of her dumb thoughts. So, the reality is that I don't do peg in the butt shit. Okay? I don't want to be a masochistic weird fuck. I don't want people cinch nutting me and shit. Okay? And so, you know, this theoretical idea was that if she ever, like, had that stuff, this profile I already had, this stuff, when we were married, sat there just in case she, in her second life of secrecy away from me, ended up getting any of that dark web shit. And it was meant that if she got that stuff, to be bringing her back while still married to me, so that she wouldn't have to engage in this psychotic fucking S&M shit. That is the only real reason for its existence. It was meant to be behind the scenes, to where if she made a mistake and got the dark web hacker speaker stuff, like all of her buddies and fucking Amazon and shit and all of her gay friends and shit, it was meant for her. Because in the end, she isn't really allowed to do that stuff either. She's Satan's vagina. And see, I knew that. In that sense, she doesn't talk about what her second life friendship world was all about. That this was merely made in ways to protect her from what, if she got into that stuff, she would be tortured. And that this was made for her to bypass that stuff and not to, because, you know, the rest of you do like some weird fetish and then the sound speaker turns off. For her, if she had that stuff, she would be pretty much advised on doing what other people do, and then that stuff would never turn off because, you know, in the end, this is what it would have been even before I met her. This is what it would have been. People would have blackmailed her and all that stuff even before that. Even before I even met her, even in like a non-computerized way. And so other people before computer world used to get blackmailed until they figured out some certain fetish or something, and then nobody could See, she would have to be like blackmailed and stuff all the way to me. And see, I knew that. Means that if she was gaying, it still wouldn't really solve the issue of people with access to the stuff that, you know, if she was doing orgies or something, it's like you're supposed to be able to gay or something, and then it kind of supposed to lock away that stuff. See, that, for her specifically, that stuff doesn't work. And so this was created essentially as a way of locking that stuff away. And that for some reason, there's like a special caveat about her. And that is why I worked on creating this for her. But that the whole idea is that I wouldn't access it because it would force a fucking date tape. It would blackmail her into having sex with me. And that I don't do that. I don't do that. Essentially, she might have enjoyed a time in her life where all that stuff, the gay and stuff, wasn't working. And then all of a sudden she started banging Satan again. Okay? And then for a time, that probably would have been all that it would have taken. She probably just would have turned her back on it. But what she may not have realized is she was busy banging Satan and getting skewered by the wizard. And that is the type, that is like what fetish or whatever. I mean, this is what I figured out for her because she was like, it was researched of her like trying to figure out which one would make people that were her friends that were taking videos at parties and the gays knew that the stuff wasn't working. And so then there's military guys that helped me figure out what which would have to do. But see, if I was to enter it, if she had those speakers, it would turn on the fucking date tape shit. And so I refrained from accessing it. It doesn't necessarily prevent the pop-up aspects, but it prevents the direct date tape. So she doesn't ever acknowledge having that stuff to me, but you know, I know what most of the gay and weird cuck fetish fucking world that her friends are all in. And so I took a wild stab in the dark and made an assumption, and then I refrained from activating that stuff on purpose. Just on a high probability of all of her friends that she was around and shit, okay? And that's basically it. So if she doesn't have that stuff, then it won't ever be a problem. But if she has, because this is like where the dark web doesn't necessarily require the speakers, but that the pop-up aspects happen, and that if she has that problem, this was researched by the military guys who figured that stuff out for everyone. The legal thing to do or something. And that, yeah, this is what they figured out, right? So that's where, there's probably been so many years of people advising and none of that shit working, that more than likely she's probably just has given up. I mean, if I was in her position, if I was in that position like her, maybe, I would have given up too. What's the fucking point? Everything that everybody does doesn't help for this. I was able to use this profile basically, and that essentially I was able to use computer science to virtualize what these would be, and that none of those were doing anything. See, I use science, explaining to which does art in form of journalism. My main box is down here as Satan. Science. And so, and that we meet in the middle with sociology, which does feminism, I do the man version of feminism. But that's the real reality. It's like I didn't want, if she could gay or whatever, then that wasn't, she had her own life. I didn't like her cheating. I didn't like that, even with chicks, okay? I didn't like that. But the whole idea is that I don't like her being extorted either. And so since she's always in Second Life, keeping the wizard from swinging his man wiener at everybody's face. See, she has a man wiener. And she should have come to her trusted partner with the issues that she kept secret from me. And so all the things that I have to go off of are research. Because she won't open up her fucking mouth about her little screamy infidelities and what that led to. So all I have is research, hearsays, conjectures, but then I build a theoretical way just in case that stuff ends up being real. She's the mother of my child, who I love more than anything in the world. And then I also love her more than anything in the world. Anything that will make her life not be extorted in 50 slutty ways. See, the one thing that I know is that nobody can do anything illegal. And that I know that cheating doesn't fix nothing. Weird butt pegging stuff doesn't fix nothing. I know that. Because this theoretical profile is similar for other women also. See, when a hoe finally gets a wizard, then cheating and gaying and all that stuff doesn't actually work for covering up the hoe's life. It takes getting skewered by the shizzle wizard. And that's what's known as like gangster man. Okay? And so in the dark web, this is how this stuff works. See, when a prostitute gets gangster man or something, it doesn't mean her being a prostitute. This could be her being dumb and orgying with her dumb gay friends and shit. It could be that. How? It could be. It could be any number of legal stuff. It could be. And that is essentially the gangsters always use this idea in the dark web. And they do it to cover up their hoe life. And see, this is where once they get a gangster man, basically, then they can't be gaying. They can't be cheating. They can't be doing weird sex fetishy shit. Okay? It's like, they don't get a man until they want to stop being a prostitute. It's similar theoretical stuff. Okay? It's like these are all basically the same on the dark web. And the gangsta hoes, they don't seem to ever have that problem of exposure until the gangsta hoe cheats on their wizard wiener. And if they do the gay and stuff, I mean that is where she doesn't have to use it. I don't require her to use it, but this is out there. It was created while we were still married. And that is meant for her to cover up any of her orgy or gayness or any of that stuff from her feminist life. Okay? It's, in ways, there's extra stuff that was supposed to happen with it. Any of her, like, catfishing behavior. Any of the images of her catfishing behavior. That was supposed to be a part of it also. And that essentially it was the preliminary system when we were married, made for prostitutes and feminists, skank chicks, basically. People that were uploading that stuff stupidly on the dark web, and also for porn stars to pull off all of their videos. Basically, their system requires them to buy out their video from the porn company, but because technically that stuff is co-owned, or they sign away the rights to it, and so there's a separate one for the porn world. Okay, but it's basically the same. It has some. The one for the porn world is meant to entice and to influence those people into giving up the rights to those porn videos. And it has a specialized, different kind of idea to it. But this one's meant for basically women that were doing prostitution, or women that were doing hookup sites, or women that were doing like orgies or something like that, to be doing dark webs. Basically. So, if you people are gonna start this like weird explanation about me and my ex-wife and what you all do, just remember, all you people are doing is talking about what all of you do. That is not what I do. I place this as an option, and then if she has that problem, maybe, perhaps cucking with pegging might be the issue on that. Perhaps cucking with pegging should stop copying that, if this ends up being the problem. See, cucking with pegging doesn't seem to realize that if he takes a copy of this, then it requires, and if he places Witch into it, then it requires Witch to be with the person that stuff works with. So maybe Cucking with Pegging can go and find his own profile in his own pedo bang system, and then he could stop taking copies, because copying this, and if Witch is computer, and if she got hacker speakers or something like that, yeah, if you take a copy of it, it's still the same, and that you'll be causing the problem by using a copy of it. So, well, there's no cucking with pegging in here. That is a different pedo bang system. Well, if you go ask those people in County Amazon, those people use cucking with pegging profile. And so, potentially, my research shows that some of Lena's friends and affair partners, they do cucking with pegging. And so if you come from a cucking with pegging system, then you have to use the profile from your cucking with pegging system. You can't go around copying my monogamy system, because that is different than what your primary is. And yeah, I don't think Lena wants to do cucking with pegging. So, if she has that problem, that's why I say she doesn't really talk to me about this stuff. But if she has that problem, that is the reason. And that cucking with pegging that steals a witch's, or steals a wizard's witch, no, you don't get to use it. I don't have to use my stuff for your stupid little pedo dick.